this episode, we're going to help entrepreneurs who are trying to decide whether they should start a business from scratch or buy into a franchise. So let's get to it. What does Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Holiday Inn, the UPS store, and Retro Fitness all have in common? And no, it's not that they all have the letter O in their names. It's that they all are franchises. You'll find that many well-known brands franchise their business. Franchising is essentially a form of expansion without the high risk. A parent company, called a franchisor, licenses their brand, products, and operations to a franchisee in exchange for a licensing fee and royalties on the sales. The franchisor provides the franchisee guidance and support on operations and marketing. And this is why franchises are so appealing to new entrepreneurs. Because essentially, franchising means working for yourself, but not by yourself. Have you ever heard that franchises have a 80 to 90% success rate? It's a stat that gets thrown around a lot. But the funny thing is, it's from almost 30 years ago. The reality is that the franchise success rate depends on a number of factors. Some franchises have a 90% failure rate because of the industry that they are in, the high cost of operating that specific business, or just bad franchise management from the franchisor. Now, in this show, we simplify things. If you want to get into a franchise, let's take note of the following 5 points. Number 1, understand the details of your initial investment. This means how much money do I need from the get-go? Every franchise requires you to pay a franchise fee, which can average around $40,000. But from there, it's a crapshoot. The amount of money you will need will depend on the business, industry, and brand. You may be required to buy or lease equipment, office space, vehicles, signs, and marketing collateral. Some franchises require a storefront built out to match their brand, like a Taco Bell. So now let's throw in real estate, licensing, and permitting costs into the mix. For example, the total investment for a McDonald's can be between $1.2 to $2 million. But on the flip side, other franchises can be significantly lower. So just make sure you know what the initial investment will be when you're entering into a franchise. The second point to know is royalty fees. Franchises take royalty fees on your gross sales, and these fees can range between 3% to 8%. On top of that, franchises also take additional fees for a marketing fund. Now, these fees can be equivalent to the royalty fees that you would pay on gross sales. And also, you should keep in mind that these marketing royalty fees are not to pay for marketing your specific franchise and location, but usually for the franchisor to market their entire brand. To market your specific franchise location, the franchisor will require you to spend a certain percentage of your gross sales on local advertising. And what you're starting to see, hopefully, is a pattern emerging. From royalty fees to brand marketing fees to local ad spend, franchisees are required to spend minimum amounts from their gross sales. And these fees start to add up. So be mindful of all fees associated with any franchise you're looking into. The third point you should know is your net worth. Many franchisors require the franchisee to have a certain net worth and liquid capital in the bank. For example, Pizza Hut requires you to have a net worth of $1 million and $360,000 in liquid assets. Now don't worry, other franchises will have lower requirements. But franchisors set these types of financial requirements to mitigate operating difficulties from the beginning. In other words, they don't want you to start off in a hole trying to dig your way out because you ran out or don't have any money. The fourth point to know is to fully understand the franchise disclosure document. The franchise disclosure document is typically called the FDD, and the FDD highlights rules, policies, revenue projections, costs, and expenses a franchisee should expect. The FDD can be large, typically a couple hundred pages, so make sure you give it a good read. The fifth and final point to know about franchises is to be sure about the brand you're signing up with. Larger, more well-known and reputable brands are a much safer bet because their FDD will have more accurate revenue projections and operational costs. If you go with a new franchise, your initial investment costs could be lower, but you're also taking a risk because the figures provided to you in the FDD could be way off. And this is because the franchisor doesn't currently have many locations to pull financial and operational data from. So the numbers you're given are essentially estimations. And you wouldn't want to get into a franchise only to find out that your monthly cost to operate the business is more than you budgeted for. There are 780,000 franchise establishments in the United States alone, and they employ over 8 million people. The franchise industry is an $800 billion industry. Most aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking to buy a franchise, they just want peace of mind. And just like any business, franchise or not, there will be failures and it will cost time and money. Now, to avoid any pitfalls, be sure to perform your due diligence by speaking with current franchisees or reading the FDD carefully, and choose an established brand and industry to avoid headaches early on.